One of the concerns that people have in the near term, and people have been, ringing the alarm bells, is on jobs.
Mhm.
I'm wondering where you come out on this, and flipping that forward to education. How do we educate our kids today in high school and college? And what's your advice? So, on the first thing, do you believe that as Dario has gone on, TV shows now and speaking to significant white collar job loss, we're seeing obviously a multitude of different drivers and robots coming in. How do you think about the job market over the next 5 years?
Um, let's posit that in 30 or 40 years, there'll be a very different employment, robotic, human interaction.
Or the definition of do we need to work at all?
The definition of work, the definition of identity. Let's just posit that. And let's also posit that it will take 20 or 30 years for those things to work through the economy of our world. Now in California and other cities in America, you can get on a Waymo taxi. Waymo, it's 2025. The original work was done in the late 90s. The original challenge at Stanford was done, I believe, in
The
2004,
Doppler Grand Challenge. It was
right?
2004 when
2004.
Sebastian threw in
That's right.
one. Yeah.
So more than 20 years from a visible demonstration to our ability to use it in daily life. Why? It's hard, it's deep tech, it's regulated and all of that. And I think that's going to be true, especially in robots that are interacting with humans. They're going to get regulated. You're not going to be wandering around and the robot's going to decide to slap you. It just doesn't, society's not going to allow that
Unless
sort
you
of
wanted
thing.
to.
It's not going to, it's not going to allow it. So in the shorter term, 5 or 10 years, I'm going to argue that this is positive for jobs in the following way.
Okay.
If you look at the history of automation and economic growth, automation starts with the lowest status and most dangerous jobs and then works up the chain. So if you think about assembly lines in cars and furnaces and all these sort of very, very dangerous jobs that our forefathers did, they don't do them anymore. They're done by robotic solutions of one another, and typically not a humanoid robot, but an arm. So the world dominated by arms that are intelligent and so forth will automate those functions. What happens to the people? Well, it turns out that the person who was working with the welder, who's now operating the arm, has a higher wage, and the company has higher profits because it's producing more widgets.
Hmm.
So the company makes more money and the person makes more money, right? In that sense. Now, you sit there and say, well, that's not true because humans don't want to be retrained. But in the vision that we're talking about, every single person will have a computer assistant that's very intelligent that helps them perform.
Hmm.
And you take a person of normal intelligence or knowledge and you add a, sort of accelerant, they can get a higher paying job. So you sit there and you go, well, why are there more jobs? There should be less jobs. That's not how economics works. Economics expands because the opportunities expands, profits expands, wealth expands, and so forth. So there's plenty of dislocation, but in aggregate, are there more people employed or fewer? The answer is more people with higher paying jobs after an awful lot of people screaming at each other.
Mhm.
Is that true in India as well?
It will be. And you picked India because India has a positive demographic outlook, although
Yes.
their birth rate is now down to 2.0.
Ah, that's good.
Is it?
Nice.
The rest of the world is choosing not to have children.
Mhm.
If you look at Korea, it's now down to zero point 0.7 children per two parents.
Yeah,
China is down to one child per two
it's
parents.
evaporating.
Now, what happens in those situations? They completely automate everything because it's the only way to increase national priority. So the most likely scenario, at least in the next decade, is it's a national emergency to use more AI in the workplace to give people better paying jobs and create more productivity in the United States because our birth rate has been falling. And what happens is people have talked about this for 20 years. If you have this conversation and you ignore demographics, which is negative for humans, and economic growth, which occurs naturally because of capital investment, then you miss the whole story. Now, there are plenty of people who lose their jobs, but there's an awful lot of people who have new jobs.
Mhm.
And the typical simple example would be all those people who work in Amazon distribution centers and Amazon trucks. Those jobs didn't exist until Amazon was created, right? The number one shortage in jobs right now in America are truck
Trucks.
drivers.
Yes.
Why? Truck driving is a lonely, hard, low paying, right, low status of good people job.
Mhm.
They don't want it. They want a better paying job, right?
So it's the jobs are dull, dangerous, or dirty
Yeah.
and
And
get
that's
replaced.
always been true. So all of the intellectuals are running around, well, when do I lose my job? Well, I'm pleased to tell you that as a software person, I'm no longer a junior programmer. I'm now a senior programmer. I get to keep my job. What will happen to the junior programmers? Well, they'll be forced to compete at a higher level,
Mhm.
or there will be tools that will help them go from junior programmer to senior programmer. Going back to education, it's really a crime that our industry has not invented the following product. The product that I want it to build is a product that teaches every single human who wants to be taught in their language in a gamified way the stuff they need to know to be a great citizen in their country,
Hmm.
right? That can all be done on phones now. It can all be learned and you can all learn how to do it. And why do we not have that product? Right? The investment in the humans of the world is the best return always.
Yeah.
In knowledge and capability, it's always the right answer.
Let me
You're
try and get your opinion on this because you're so influential with.
Yeah.
So I've got about 1,000 people in the companies where I'm the controlling shareholder, and I've been trying to tell them exactly what you just articulated, where a lot of these people have been in the company for 10, 15 years. They're incredibly capable and loyal, but they've learned a specific white collar skill. They worked really hard to learn the skill, and the AI is coming within no more than 3 years and maybe 2 years, and the opportunity to retrain and have continuity is right now.
Mhm.
But if they delay, which everyone seems to be just, let's wait and see. And what I'm trying to tell them is if you wait and see, you're really screwing over that employee.
So,
Be-
we are in wild agreement that this is going to happen, and the winners, we are the ones who act now. What's interesting is when you look at innovation history, the biggest companies who you would think of are the slowest because they have economic resources that the little companies typically don't. They tend to eventually get there, right? So watch what the big companies do.
Mhm.
Are their CFOs and the people who measure things carefully, who are very, very intelligent, they say, I'm done with that 1,000 engineering team that doesn't do very much. I want 50 people working in this other way, and we'll do something else with the other people.
And when you say big companies, we're thinking Google, Meta. We're not thinking,
I'm thinking,
big bank hasn't
no,
done
I'm
anything.
thinking about big banks. When I talk to CEOs, and I know a lot of them in traditional industries, what I counsel them is you already have people in the company who know what to do. You just don't know who they are.
Mhm.
So call a review of the best ideas to apply AI in our business. And inevitably, the first ones are boring: improve customer service, improve call centers, and so forth. But then somebody says, we could increase revenue if we built this product. I'll give you another example. There's this whole industry of people who work on regulated user interfaces of one another. I think user interfaces are largely going to go away
Mhm.
Sure.
because if you think about it, the agents speak English
Yep.
typically or
Yep.
other languages. You can talk to them. You can say what you want. The UI can be generated. So I can say, generate me a set of buttons that allows me to solve this problem, and it's generated for you. Why do I have to be stuck in what is called the WIMP interface, Windows icons, menus, and pull down, that was invented in Xerox PARC, right? 50 years ago. Why am I still stuck in that paradigm? I just want it to work.